Hey everybody. So the topic today I'm going to cover is budgeting. And it's going to be a very short, compressed budgeting topic, if you will. And this is only my opinions and from experience, personal experiences, but there's two types of budgeting. There's active and passive. Your active budgeting would be to utilize tools such as EveryDollar, envelopes, or a cash jar system. I'm going to put a link in the description of the video that links to these various different ways of budgeting. So those would be what you consider active. With the jar method, the envelope method, you're putting a set amount of money in each category every week, month, however your paychecks or however you're paid. And you don't vary from that. So if you have $20 in a food budget and it's the last day and you have zero money left, you're either going hungry or going to have to scrounge around and eat something else. Now with the passive, this is the way in my situation that I did years ago when my wife and I were working on getting out of debt. I utilized tools such as Mint.com, and I'm not advertising for any of these items. This is just my own personal take on things. So I used Mint. Now what Mint does is it actually tracks, you add all your accounts, so all your bank accounts, all your credit cards, you can add your mortgage in if it's attached to your bank, things like that. And it basically monitors all of your transactions. Now within that system you can also put a budgeting system, and what it would do is, so you would set your food budget and it would show you every time you make a purchase in that budgeting category, it would give you less available. So if your food budget for the month is $300, every transaction you buy, so if you go to McDonald's and get a cheeseburger, if you go to the grocery store, anything that's related to food, it's going to deduct it from that budget, and you can see on the smartphone app exactly where you are at any given time during the month. That was the best way I found, and it worked for me because I'm not disciplined enough, and I wouldn't say disciplined enough, but to actually have $20 to spend on something and keep it that. My budget, even to this day, is very liquid, fluid, if you will. So one month I may spend more on food if I have family in town or things like that, but I just cut back somewhere else. So if in that case, let's say my entertainment budget is $100, I don't know, that's a lot for entertainment, but I also consider entertainment as Netflix, Hulu, going out to the movies, going out to shows, things like that. So anyway, so if that budget, so if my food budget goes over, I make sure I cut somewhere else. And that's what I can see in that program as far as Mint is the whole thing. So if all my monthly spending equals $1,000 and it's broken down to the different categories, I know as long as I don't go over the $1,000 total, that I'm staying within my budget. Again, that works for me. That doesn't necessarily work for everyone. But that's what I utilize in the tool I like. Now the methodology between the two, active and passive budgeting, it's personal preference. I think just the habit of getting into a budget of some kind is hugely beneficial, because if you don't watch where your money goes, it disappears. I know one of the authors I love is Jim Rohn, and he says too much month at the end of the money. You know, you ran through all your money before all your bills were paid, or all your living expenses were taken out. And I think it's a great phrase, and for years I did that myself. And it's funny, if you don't watch where your money goes, it's easy to lose track of it. And that's one of the reasons why I started a budget in the beginning, because I got down, I knew what I made, and I looked at my bank accounts and thought, where is it? Where is it all going? And it's amazing when you actually start to look at the budget and how you spend your money, where it's easy to cut things out. I mean, I know everybody likes coffee, but you know that's a huge difference you can see in cost. So if you go to Dunkin' or Starbucks every day and you're spending $3, $4 on a mixed drink, or even a normal coffee is $2 or $3, versus you spend 39 cents on a K-cup at home and save the difference. For me, food is like a huge, I don't want to say a huge waste of money, but it's one of those categories where you consume it and within minutes it's gone. And the amount of money that you spend on food can be phenomenal. I know if you have kids and your cereal and things like that, but I think there's also ways you can save a lot in that category also. The other one is fuel for the cars. I know when I started tracking, now driving to work, obviously you can't change much, but if you can alter how many times during a month maybe you go on a longer trip on the weekends. If you go to the store every day versus once a week to pick up groceries, the money you can save there. So that's kind of, when I look at passive budgeting, that's what I mean, is watching where the money went and kind of curbing that. And it kind of holds you accountable. I know budgeting sucks regardless. Watching your money, if we all lived in a world where money was endless and we didn't have to worry about it, it would be pretty cool, I gotta say. But we don't live in that world. And I think the biggest reason to budget is obviously to get out of debt. If you didn't have debt, budgeting I don't think would be as big of a deal. I mean, as long as your savings, if you were saving, or if that was your goal, is to save. But I think the biggest issue is to be able to get out of debt. And I think a lot of times when you're not budgeting, that's when you get into debt. Because as a society today, the availability of credit is ridiculous. I probably get 2 or 3 credit card offers every month, or maybe more than that. And it's easy. Sign the paper, send it back, credit card, boom, done. And for years, I lived on credit cards. If there was too much month at the end of the money, I used the credit card to bridge that gap. And I know, unfortunately, a lot of people are doing that, and it's hard, especially if you don't make a decent amount of money, or if you have a bunch of kids that take up money. It is very hard. And I think that's why to be disciplined in budgeting is a way of getting out of that. I've taught some seminars in front of different people, and basically everyone laughs when I say the term. And actually this one is from Dave Ramsey. I'll put a link in the description. If you've never heard of Dave Ramsey, highly recommend him. I used most of his methods when I was going through the process. Read his books. Phenomenal, motivational towards getting out of debt. But so the saying is, or the term he uses is, as you pay down debt, it's like you're getting a raise. And a lot of people laugh and giggle, and they're like, oh, it doesn't feel like you're getting a raise. But anytime you're not paying money out, it's money you can use for something else. So if you don't have a car payment, or you don't have the credit card bills, or the other ones, your store cards, things like that, that's money that you can use for something else. So I kind of felt like the whole time I was going through it, as I paid off bills, I was like, yeah, it's more money, it's $30, whatever. It's more I can use for other things I want to do. So I can plug that back into another part of the budget to utilize for something else. Maybe get a more expensive box of cereal. But I like the phrase. Like I said, a lot of people laugh at it, but I think it kind of holds true for me. If you're disciplined in the budgeting process, then you don't have to worry about going into debt. Because once you get into debt on a credit card, it is really hard to get out. Because it's so easy when you go to Best Buy, Walmart, Target, wherever, and a new X is on sale and you buy it and you think, okay, well that's only $100, or that's only $50, that's only $25. Even small items add up. And when you're putting it on that credit card, it's adding and it's building up. And over time, if you're not paying those credit cards off, you're paying a huge interest rate on those credit cards. You can always go back to my interest, I'm not sure. You can always go back to my interest videos to learn more about that. But the amount of interest rates now are phenomenal. You're talking, I've seen them as high as 40% on a credit card. So if you just do a basic calculation on that, let's say it's $1,000 at 40%, you're going to pay $400 for that TV, whatever that is. If it's $1,000 TV and you 40%, that TV is going to cost you at least $1,400. And I say at least because every time you make a payment on a credit card, you're only paying a portion of that TV off. That's why I loved, if you look at the bottom of a credit card, on the receipt itself, it says if you pay only the minimum balance, this is how long it'll take you. So some of those purchases, a TV or things like that, could take you years to pay off. So I can't remember the last time that I actually saw a payment on the bottom, because I've been very disciplined with credit cards. I use them as a tool. So I use them to get the cash back, but every month I pay it off. I just refuse to send an interest payment to the credit card company. I'm probably a bad credit card customer for that reason. But I do use it for the cash back. So that's one diversification from someone like Dave Ramsey, who absolutely does not believe in credit cards. Again, credit cards are like money. It's a tool. Whether you use it for good or evil, or bad, not evil. If you use it for good or bad, that's up to you. And the way I use credit cards, I use them for good. But that's what a lot of people don't look at. And I did too. When I was younger, if I had a credit card, I'm like, oh, I could buy this, I could buy that. I don't have to wait. It's this now mentality that is pushed. And basically the reason it's pushed is to get people to spend money. Unfortunately, that's what happens years ago. And they still probably have it. But I remember years ago that if you wanted something but you couldn't afford it, you put it on layaway. And you'd make payments on it, so when you receive the item, it's paid off. With credit cards now, you could buy that TV and theoretically still be paying on that TV long after it doesn't work. That's the sad reality of it. You get to have it now and play with it now, but you're paying for it a while. So instead of deferring the enjoyment to when you had it paid off, you're enjoying it now, but you're deferring the payoff, if you will, of the debt. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on the budgeting. Again, I'm going to put some links at the bottom to some of the topics that I covered, and every one of them is a great tool. If you're willing to be invested in your financial health, try them out. Most of them, I believe all of them are free to try, and then you can pay to keep going. Mint, I've been using it for 10 years, and I've never paid a dime to it. So that being said, you have to be careful, because on there's going to be advertisements for credit cards and things like that, but that's how they make money. I get that. But if you utilize it just as a tool, it is a good tool. You can also check out your own bank. A lot of banks have their own financial software to help you do budgeting and things like that. But I'll put the link in the description. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any additional ones, please list them so other people can utilize them too. In a coming up video, I actually made a budgeting tool of my own. It's just a simple spreadsheet. Maybe not so simple because I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd, but it's a good spreadsheet that I'll go over how you can utilize it. And that is going to be your passive. So after you spend the money, you put it in the spreadsheet and it shows. So look for that video, hopefully coming in a couple days. Thank you again for tuning in. If you got any kind of enjoyment, I'd appreciate a like or a comment or anything like that. Again, thank you for watching and have a great day.